Using Duolingo will not get you to fluency in a language, unless of course you've been using it religiously for 5+ years. But ain't nobody got time for that. And in this video, we'll discuss 3 reasons why Duolingo is probably not the best language learning app if you want to learn a language quickly. So let's start with the first drawback of using Duolingo, and it's limited speaking practice. We all know that you can speak on the app with the prompts that it gives you to record yourself into the app, but simply put, that isn't good enough. It's a piece of crap. You're not getting enough speaking practice early enough in the process, and to be honest, the speaking practice you do get is subpar. So for example, let's say you're learning Spanish. The app may give you a sentence like, El gato está en la casa. The cat is inside the house. But I mean, how often are you actually going to say that sentence? I, for one, don't even have a cat. And this is the annoying part with the app. It generates these sentences and forces you to repeat them on the basis that you may have to use them. But what happens if you don't have to use them, or if they're completely irrelevant? What it should do is have an input-output method where you input information about your personal interests, hobbies, etc. And then it spits out sentences for you to repeat based on those things. A, so you have an interest in what you're learning, and B, so it's actually relevant. And speaking of relevant, the goal of learning a language is to actually communicate with people about relevant topics of interest, not just memorizing words and phrases. And again, this is where Duolingo really falls short because it lacks the cultural context you need to speak to people. You're not just going to spit off a bunch of memorized phrases when you meet someone. No, you're going to want to talk about a topic of interest or something that's mutually beneficial to both parties, not just El gato está en la casa. ¿Qué eso? Now, the second area in which Duolingo falls short, I alluded to earlier, is the lack of cultural context. As it pertains to Spanish, one quick example is the lack of cultural context when it comes to greetings. Yes, you may verbally learn how to greet someone, i.e., hola, ¿cómo estás? Mi nombre es Patricio, but you won't be told what to do when greeting someone. And we all know that in many Spanish-speaking countries, it's custom to give a kiss on both cheeks. Now, I'm not saying the app should be beholden to teach you everything about a culture, but it would be nice to learn certain things in cultural context. Now finally, let's discuss the third area where Duolingo falls short, the overemphasis on gamification. While many people praise it for its addictive nature and the fact that it gets you to come back and learn every day, the reality is that this also has its negatives. How many times have you focused on trying to maintain a streak instead of actually learning? Maintaining a streak or playing the game may give you the false impression that you're learning something, but the reality is very different. So try not to fall into that trap, because many do, including myself. I remember I had like a 500-day streak at one point in 2020, and to be honest, I didn't really learn anything between day 450 and 500, or maybe I did a little, but the reality is that my time would have been better spent elsewhere. And to be clear, what I mean by elsewhere is taking classes on Italki, using a textbook that can guide me through the language learning process, and or watching something in a more passive fashion, potentially with subtitles on, depending on my level in that language at that point in time. But all of these things I find to be a better use of my time when trying to actively learn a language than Duolingo. Now, that's not to say Duolingo is all bad. There are positives with the application. First of all, it's free. It can get you started with the basics very quickly, and you can take it pretty much anywhere. So there are benefits to using it. However, I think it's best to be used in conjunction with other things like classes on Italki, using a textbook, and perhaps another language learning app like Pimsleur or a program like Assimil. I'd also recommend watching videos on YouTube for language learning tips and tricks like these videos, which I've put up here. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.